So, welcome to the first day of Selenium C Sharp training. So, today we'll be starting with the basic concepts of the C Sharp language, right? And what all we will be actually doing in our complete online training. We'll be just discussing with you the course contents, and then we will, moving forward, we'll just start with our topics, right? So, as you can see, here is a checklist that I have prepared, which contains the topics that we will be covering up in our entire class. So on the day very first, we'll be just covering the basic concepts only, the basic C sharp concepts, the history of Selenium, and how can you configure Selenium in a Visual Studio project. Okay, and then on the second day and the third day we'll be just going with the oops concepts. How do you create a constructor, the concept of a class, what is an object, how do you declare an object, static, non-static, interfaces, and all everything. All right, and then from the day fourth we will be starting the Selenium part, right? Please mute your microphone if any of them. Okay, good. All right. So as you can see that these are all the topics that we will be discussing up. Okay, we will be covering each and every object that actually we can see on the web page in order to cover the Selenium. How do you handle web tables, the frames, pop-up handling, drop-down list? How do you extract multiple components? Okay, and then after the Selenium is completed, we will also see how can we actually read and write the data from the Excel file handling. Okay, and then after that comes your testing framework, that is your end unit. So in C sharp, in Selenium with C sharp, we use end unit as a testing framework to automate the test cases. Okay, and then once we are done with the basic concepts of all these topics, then after that in the end we will be taking one framework. So that framework could be either a data driven framework or a page object model framework or a hybrid framework. So that also we will be covering up in the end of the class. We will cover the complete framework, which will contain the grid implementation, the Jenkins part, the CI tool, the Jenkins part, right? And also how will you manage the data from the Excel file. Each and everything would be covered. All right. So before I go ahead, any queries, anything that you want to ask regarding the course contents, before we actually start with the class? Any questions? Any one of you?
Basically, how long it takes, means like the C sharp and the Selenium with the framework.
This class duration?
Yes, means like
Uh, yeah,
yes.
this class duration, like the class will last till 6 weeks. So, like basically, we are targeting 6 weeks. 6 weeks, we will be able to complete this complete course that I have just shown you. Okay, and it's nothing like that. In the 6 weeks only, we will be covering up all the topics. Either it can go beyond 6 weeks as well. So it's up to you how fast you grab the things.
You will give the real time project experience or just any dummy project that you have already created.
No, no, we will be actually taking up the real website only, the live website only, like for example, the Zoho.com or the Rediff.com. On that site only, I will be automating some of the test cases and will be showcasing it to you.
Okay, when we have you'll giving some practical, I mean like practical knowledge, like you'll give some.
Yes, we are, and moreover, I'll be giving you the exercises as well between the classes.
Okay,
Okay, and the real time examples only I'll be automating. When I'll be explaining you these concepts, the drop down, pop up handling, and all these concepts, I'll be explaining you on the real time website.
okay. When you give an exercise, if we have any problem, so where we need to
Like
ask,
we,
means like we need to put any
y-
questions or in class or personally or something like that.
yes, in class only you can ask your queries so that other people can also know like what queries you all are facing,
Okay,
right?
okay.
So we'll
And
keep a separate day onto which we can discuss all our queries.
oh, okay, 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 okay. So after
Right?
every session you'll giving a exercise to do.
Yes, yes, yes.
Uh,
I'll be giving you the exercise.
okay, okay, okay. So by the end of the course will be little bit perfect. Uh,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Most probably.
Okay. Can you tell little bit slow because we need to
Okay.
fast. Thank you.
All right. Okay. No worries. And let me know if I'm going fast in between also. Fine.
Okay, okay. Because
Yeah. Sure.
introduction that's okay, but when you go to the selenium part, a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
not in a hurry, little bit slowly because we need to
Yeah,
finish
yeah. No worries.
it. Okay. Anyway,
Uh,
thank you.
okay. No worries. Yes, Maya, you're saying class time 8:30 to 9:30 p.m. No, I don't think the timings are same like 8 to 9 a.m. IST. So I've started the class that time only. Was it like 1 hour before?
When I registered online, it said 8:30 to 9:30, but then when I got the invitation, it's 1 hour
Hmm.
later. I was just wondering, is this the set time from now on, or what is the final time of the class?
Mm, I guess like yeah, as you are saying 8:30 to 9:30, so 8:30 to 9:30 would also be better for me as well.
Okay,
If that is so,
so 1 hour earlier than today.
yes, yes. So what
Okay,
we can do is after the class we can just discuss the timings also,
sure.
and then tomorrow on we can
I,
continue with that.
actually, initially you mentioned 7 to 8, then they changed to 8 to
Yes.
9. In website is now 8 to 9. I don't know which time is suitable, but I prefer morning times only.
Yeah, morning time also only would be better for me as well.
Not
So
8 to
we can just discuss the timings after the class. Let's just
9. Okay,
start with the
okay.
class.
I'm telling
Okay.
in Indian time, not the other
Y-
global time.
yes, 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 yeah,
Okay, okay.
yeah.
Hi everyone.
Uh, yes, Ashmesh. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning. Sorry, I was not able to connect with the WebEx, so
Okay.
little bit late.
We haven't done much as of now. I just showcase this checklist only, that the course contents that we will be taking up in our entire class.
Okay, okay.
Okay, so you can just go through this checklist, and then if you have just seen this like this checklist, any queries, I just asked about their queries only. If before we start with the class, anything you want to ask, any questions you have regarding
Not
the.
yet, yeah. But yeah,
Okay,
definitely in between we will have them
yeah, sure,
for that.
sure,
Yep.
yeah, all right. Okay, then we'll just start. Yes, please mute your microphone if you want. Okay. Yes, Sam, you too. All right, so let's start then. Now, before I actually start with my class, let me just discuss a few FAQs which people generally ask, that are like what all will be taught in the course. So, as we have already discussed, these are all the topics that we will be taking up in our class, right? And then, will I get access to the videos? Well, yes, you will all get access to the videos as well. I am recording this session. Okay, and after the class we will be sending you the link for these videos, from where you can just go through the videos once again and practice. Then, do you record current session? Yes, I have recorded, and I am recording the current sessions, and you will get the videos as well. Now, the next question is very important. Is C sharp required if I don't know programming? Well, I would say it's not about C sharp. If you have the knowledge of any programming language, whether it is a Java, whether it is C sharp or PHP or Python, you must know the concepts of the programming language. If the concepts are clear, then you are good to go with Selenium. Okay, and if you want to learn Selenium with C sharp, then yes, you should have the knowledge of C sharp. You should have some basic knowledge of C sharp. How do you declare the things? How do you declare a variable, the for loop, the functions, the if statement? Okay, fine. So this is what I would say. If you are learning, if you want to learn Selenium, then you must have the knowledge of C sharp. rather any programming language. And if you don't know as well, if you are if you are a beginner, then don't worry. On our website, we like the first 7 modules are there on the basic part only, the basic oops concepts only. You can just go through those videos, and then after that you can again start with your Selenium. That would be very helpful to you in learning the C sharp concepts as well. All right. Then I need help in my project. Will you help? Well, yes, we will surely help you out in your project. We have a team out here who can help you out. And then, like, if you face any queries, we have a forum where you can post your queries, or you can message me, you can Skype me. All right. We will surely help you out in your project. Then, what all did you cover? We have already discussed. These are all the topics that we will be taking up. Then the duration of the course, as I told you, this is a weekday batch which will last till 6 weeks, last for 6 weeks. Okay, and it can extend from 6 weeks as well. It's not particular. It's not mandatory that it will last till 6 weeks only. It can complete before or after 6 weeks as well. It's not something like that. Okay, then could you also provide some kind of live project? As I already told you, the frameworks that we have taken on our website, the frameworks that are actually present on the website, those frameworks are also explained on the live websites only. And the framework which we will be taking up in our class, that framework also I'll be taking up on the live website only. I'll be explaining you on the live website only. Okay, and automating some of the test cases for them. So in all, we will be working on the live website. We will not have some dummy websites that we will be covering. Fine, everyone. Any queries?
No.
Okay, good. All right. So, all right. So then just start with the class. Now, first of all, let me just tell you a brief history of Selenium. Okay, and then we'll try to cover Selenium in the Visual Studio. What is Selenium, from where it evolved, and where it is going right now? Okay, so basically, there are 3 components of Selenium. Yes, can you all see my screen? Is the diagram visible?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes, we can
Visible
see.
to me.
all right, okay, good. So the first component is your IDE, right? Then the next component is RC. Then comes your Selenium grid. Now, basically, as I told you, there are 3 components of Selenium: IDE, RC, and grid. Now, what is IDE? Well, IDE, what it does is, it first of all, it works only on the Firefox browser. It doesn't support any other browser, whether it is your Chrome, IE, Safari, Opera. No, it doesn't work on any browser. It just works on the Firefox browser. All right. Then no reports can be generated. If you are working on an IDE, then you cannot generate reports of the test cases. Then thirdly, it is a record and run tool. Now, what do you mean by record and run tool? Everything is a record and run only. Like, for example, if you go to any website, say CNN.com or TimesOfIndia.com, right? On the website, we get to see the latest news. Now, these news this news website, or any sports website, or any website, the news are changing every minute. These are dynamic sites. Right, the news would be changing every minute. So you cannot just record and run anything on such website, the dynamic websites. Okay, so IDE is a record and run tool, and moreover, like if you have a small scale project, a small scale project of say up to 1 to 5 pages, then you can work on the IDE, then you can create an IDE project. Okay, but if you have a large scale project of thousands of pages, then IDE is not a good option. Then we will have to switch to another component, then that we will just discuss in few minutes. Okay, so these are some of the features of the IDE. Then next comes your RC. Well, RC, it supports all the browsers: Chrome, Firefox, IE, Opera, Safari. It supports all the browsers. Okay, then with RC, you can generate the reports. Reports can be easily generated with RC, whether it is your HTML report or XSLT report, any report it is, you can generate the reports with RC. Then next, if you are working on an RC project, then you must have the knowledge of programming language. You must have the knowledge of programming language if you want to work with the RC. Okay, so programming language, it can be any, it can be either your C sharp or Java or PHP or Python, any programming language it can be, but you must have the knowledge of programming language if you want to learn RC. All right, now this was RC, but then there was a drawback in RC because of which people just switched from RC. Now, what was the drawback? The drawback was in RC there used to be a separate server which never used to get started, or like when we need to start the server, we have to manually start the server. Then in between the server might shut down. We don't know when it might shut down. Okay, so because of this server whose on or off functionality we didn't know how to handle, which like it was random, it can start in between or it can stop in between. So because of this, people switched from RC, because of which RC is no longer used these days. Okay, so there is another component that will just tell you. So RC is all about this. Fine. Then next is your grid. Well, grid is used for parallel execution of your test cases. If you have multiple test cases and you want to run your test cases on a network, then we use grid. So what is grid? In the grid, what happens is there is a central machine known as the hub. To that central machine, you will be connecting multiple PCs, multiple nodes, okay, onto which you will be keeping your test cases. Okay, so we'll be discussing this grid in detail in the coming classes. So right now, I'll just tell you that grid is used for the parallel execution of test cases, which will help us in saving our time. If multiple test cases are executing parallelly at the same time, it will surely help saving our time, right? If 500 test cases are running in 2 hours, and say suppose if you try to run them parallelly, then it might run in 45 minutes or 1 hour. Okay, so it will help us save time. So grid is used for parallel execution of your test cases. All right. Okay, then next is, I told you, now IDE. Hold on. Now what happens is IDE is still the same, but then RC, because of its drawbacks, it has been switched to another component, that is your WebDriver, which is currently used in the market, highly in demand in the market these days. So RC has been switched to WebDriver, and Grid is again the same, Grid 3.0, sorry, 3.x. Okay, so earlier the version of the Grid was Grid 2, and now it has been switched to Grid 3. And WebDriver also, earlier the version was Grade 2, and now it has the latest version is 3, 3.x. Okay, so yes, IDE is still the same. All its features are same. It supports only the Firefox browser, no reports. It's a record and run tool and used for the small application only. But then WebDriver, it has the same features of the RC, but with its with its own advanced features as well, because of which it is used in the market these days, which is because of which it is highly in demand. That is, it also supports all the browsers. Sorry. Then reports are generated. You can generate reports very easily with the WebDriver. HTML report, XSLT report, extent report, which we will just show you in the project when we will discuss the framework part. Okay. Then yes, for learning WebDriver, you should have the knowledge of programming language, and programming language can be any programming language. Okay. Then yes, so if you have a large project, then we will surely be going with the WebDriver only, not with the IDE part. Okay, and grid is again the same only, same purpose, parallel execution of the test cases. All right, so this is all about Selenium, the history of Selenium and the present of Selenium. Where is Selenium these days? Okay, so in our class, we will be learning about, first of all, we will be learning the basic C sharp concepts. I'll be explaining you the basic C sharp concepts. So if any one of you doesn't know, he or she can very easily understand the topics that would be required by us in order to learn Selenium. Okay, so and I will not say that I'll be covering the complete C sharp. No, I'll just cover the basics only. That is sufficient for us to learn Selenium. Okay, then yes, after that we will be starting with the WebDriver part only, which is the main motive of our online class, Selenium WebDriver. Okay, and then in the WebDriver we will be discussing each and every object, the pop-ups, the web tables, the drop downs, the frames. Okay, we'll be covering each and every object. And then moreover we will be learning the grid as well. We'll be covering the Jenkins part, the CI tool, that is your Jenkins tool. Okay, and file handling in order to read and write the data to and from the Excel file, that also will be taking up. Okay, and we'll be also taking up the NUnit, the testing framework in Selenium with C sharp. Okay, and what else? Yes, we will be covering these topics. All right. So is that okay with everyone? Yes,
Yeah, I
any
think
queries?
spec flow is also
Yeah,
important.
spec flow will not take up in the class. Actually, the framework is there on the website. So you'll have to watch the videos for the spec flow. In the online class, we'll be taking up either of the three frameworks, that is your data driven, hybrid or page object model.
Okay, so we have videos for that, and we need to do
E-
that ourselves, right?
yes. We have the videos on our online site, seleniumtraining.com. I think you might be knowing that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the website for Selenium C Sharp is seleniumtraining.com. I'll just
Okay.
show you. Okay. Yeah. So seleniumtraining.com is our website for Selenium C Sharp, which contains all the topics. Okay, hold on. So here you see these are all the modules which cover each and everything. Fine. So the first 14 modules are actually the basic WebDriver part only, the different WebDriver concepts. Okay. Then from 16th starts your framework. So 16th is your data driven. Then we have page object hybrid framework, and then next is your spec flow framework. So for spec flow you need to watch these videos, and if you have any queries then you can ask me anytime, but the videos, the framework, you'll have to cover from these videos only.
Okay, sure.
Okay, yeah. And
So,
then next is your database testing as well, the two modules.
okay.
Yes, anything else?
No.
Okay, all right, fine. So then let's start. So then first of all, the official website of Selenium is seleniumhq.org website. Okay, this is your official website of Selenium from where you can just download the Selenium related DLLs, okay, and just can understand Selenium as well. So Selenium, if you see the very first line, what is Selenium? It says that Selenium automates browser. So Selenium is basically, it is a web based automation tool. If you want to automate the web based application, then Selenium is one of the two. So it says it automates browsers. It is not for desktop based application. If you want to automate the desktop based application, then Selenium is not the right tool. All right. So this is just for the web based automation. Fine. And then if you go to the download section, out here we have for the C Sharp, we have the API docs for C Sharp. You can just go through this API documentation, the documentation for C Sharp. All right, and then here are all the topics covered, the topics that we will be actually taking up in our class as well. So I will not say I'll take up the complete documentation, I'll be explaining you the complete documentation. No, you'll have to go through your own, but the important part, the required stuff, we will be taking up. Okay, the that is some of the interface, that is iAlert interface. Okay, then we have many more, the capabilities class, the web element, the web driver part. Okay, some classes by class, we will be taking up most of the classes, most of the functions from here as well. So this is your documentation. Okay, any function, any class that you have not understood, you can just go through this documentation and get to know more about these classes, the functionality of the classes, and what all functions are present, the properties, the methods are present in that very particular class. You can just go through them. Okay, so here is your documentation for C Sharp. Fine. Now let's just try to add a Visual Studio project. Okay, so what I'll do is let me just open my Visual Studio. Yes, and one more thing. Yes, have you all installed Visual Studio in your system?
Yes, I have.
Okay, and yes,
I have,
Sam.
but it's mine is 2015, not
Yeah, mine is
17.
Okay,
2015 too.
it's okay, no worries. The version will not matter. And like in Selenium, since like we are not developing any C Sharp project, so from development point of view, you might need some extra functionalities, the latest functionalities. But for Selenium, it's okay. Visual Studio 2015 also is okay. Okay, we just need to have end unit, and end unit is supportive in the 2015 framework as well, Visual Studio version.
So does it any difference between community version and enterprise?
Yeah, community and enterprise also, it will not matter for learning Selenium. As I told you, in Selenium, we don't need much functionalities of the Visual Studio. We just need to have the basic functionalities that are present in the community version. Okay, so
Okay.
like for Selenium, it's not necessary for the enterprise. But if you want to learn the coded UI, okay, so coded UI, it works on the enterprise version.
So
That is also one other rule. Yes.
okay, so I'm not sure about coded UI. So coded UI, either we can use coded UI or any unit, right?
No, no, it's not a testing framework. Coded UI is a separate tool, like Selenium for C
Okay.
Sharp. Okay, like for C Sharp, I am using Selenium. We are learning Selenium WebDriver. Okay,
Mhm.
for automating the web-based application. So coded UI is also another tool like Selenium for C Sharp.
Okay. So
Okay,
actually,
that is a separate tool. Yes.
okay. So in my company, we have a project team coded UI. So
Hmm.
that means they are not using Selenium, but they are using coded UI
Yes.
functionality, right?
Yes, yes. So
So
that is actually a paid tool. So that is why they will require, they might be using Visual Studio Enterprise Edition.
so could you just explain a little bit about the difference between Selenium and coded UI so that
Look, coded UI, I have also not used. I have just heard about it that it is also a separate tool like Selenium for automating the web-based applications.
okay, so any DLLs or anything we use in coded UI from Selenium or that is
No, no, no. That is a separate one only. We don't use any common thing between the two.
okay,
Okay, Selenium has a separate DLLs and coded UI has separate.
okay, okay. So I think we can
Okay.
discuss later. So you can continue. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. So yes, so for Selenium, Visual Studio Community Edition would also go. Okay, and Enterprise Edition if you have, that is also very good. And regarding the version number, 2015 or 2017, both are good to go. For Selenium, as I told you, we don't need much, like many any of the higher functionalities of the Visual Studio. So any version or any edition would go with easily go with Selenium for C Sharp. So right now I have Visual Studio 2017 Community Edition with me in my system. So I'll be teaching you Selenium on that only. Okay, so here is your Visual Studio. If you and let me just tell you the uh, Visual Studio as well. Like say if you go to visualstudio.com, so this is the official website of Visual Studio. Okay, and if you want to install Visual Studio, then you can simply install from here as well. Okay, download from Windows, and here are all your version: Community 2017, Professional or Enterprise Edition. So if you don't have, you can just simply download it from this official website. Fine. Now, okay. Now let me create a new project. So you go to File menu, File, New Project. Okay, and then in the new project dialog window, here are all the options, the type of project that you want to create. Okay, so from the testing point of view, we are not developing any website or something like that. So from the testing point of view, we will be concentrating on two types of frameworks only in our entire class, and that would only be required by you in the testing. That is, one is your console application and another one is your class library project. Okay, so first of all, I'll be making you understand the concepts on the console application. Okay, and I'll explain you the difference as well, why console and why class library. And then when we will start with the framework part, then in that we will take up the class library project. Okay, so let me first of all create a console application project. And just hold on, let me just select my directory. So it's your okay. So here is your project. Okay, then this is your solution explorer window. What is this solution explorer window? Solution explorer window, it will list all the classes, all the interface, anything that you have added, any kind of item that you have added in your project. That part, that all the classes would be actually listed in this solution explorer window for that very particular project, right? So when you create a console application project, the by default classes, the by default folders, or anything that you see which comes up is these four classes, four folders. Okay, now what are all these four things? Now first is your properties folder, which contains the class assembly info.cs. What is this? Well, assembly info.cs class, if you see, it just contains your information related to this particular assembly that you have created, that is your day one assembly. Okay, so you see that assembly title is day one, then description is none. We haven't given any description. Then configuration is none. Company is Microsoft. Okay, so this information related to this assembly, that is assembly is your day one project, the name of the project. Information related to your project is will be listed in this assembly info class file. All right, so this is, and we don't need to do anything with this assembly info class. We'll be doing nothing with this class as well. So this is just the the information part of your assembly, which comes by default, and we will not do any changes in this class. The next is your references folder. So we'll just hold this references folder for the time being, just for 2-3 minutes, and we'll come back to this class. This folder, sorry. The next is your app.config file. Now app.config file, it contains the configuration about your project, about this day one project. Now what do you mean by configuration? If you see that now we are using Visual Studio 2017 version. Okay, so Visual Studio 2017 corresponding to 2017 version, the .NET framework version is 4.6.1. Okay, so if you are using for Visual Studio 2015, then with that the .NET framework version would be 4.5. Okay, so with different Visual Studio versions, the .NET framework versions also changes. Okay, so this configuration app.config, by default it just contains this information, and moreover in this configuration file you can even set your own configurations as well of your project. And what type of configuration you can set, that we will come to know in the coming classes as we go on with our class. Okay, so right now I'll not tell you much about this configuration part, since this is your first day only, right? So we'll not be confusing the things. Let's make it very clear on the very first day. Let's not discuss each and everything. Okay, so we'll just cover the basic only, the basic part only on the first day. So this is all about the app.config file. Then next is your program.cs class file. The by default it's just the simple class only. Okay, that is a class program, a class named program, which contains your main function inside it. Main function, we all know, it is the main entry point of the execution of our program, of our logic, where we will be writing the code which we need to execute. Okay, right. Now what is this static, what is this class? No worries, if you don't know, let's not panic, we will come to know all about this in our class. Okay, now now this is your program.cs, the class file, and if you want to add your own class, then you can do that as well. How will you add a new class? You right click on your project, then you say add new item, and then here in the add new item dialog window you can add any type of item that you want to add. You want to add a new class, you want to add a new interface, okay, a Windows form that will not be required by us from the testing point of view, application configuration file, okay, any HTML file, any JSON file, anything that you want to add according to your requirement. You can just simply go through this dialog window and can add your required item. Okay, fine. Now I assume that you all know the basic programming concepts, that is, how do you declare a variable, how do you declare an if else statement, how do you declare the for loops, or you have your while loop, or it is your do while, which will not be much required in the testing. Okay, the for loops only, and then your functions, how do you declare the functions and all. Okay, so these topics, these things, I assume that you all know, and if you don't know, please go through these topics. Okay, so like it will be helpful to you only in learning Selenium, because I cannot teach each and everything from the very beginning. I can just explain you the topics, not in a brief, but like just explain you the concepts that will be required by you in order to understand Selenium. but then you should have the thorough knowledge of all these things as well, right? Yeah. So let me just tell you the things how we declare the variable in C sharp. Now C sharp might be new to some any one of you, or like you might be knowing as well. So how do you declare a variable? It's the same as in any other language, as in Java as well. Like if you want to declare an integer variable, then same goes over here. We have an integer data type int x, say, is equal to 10. Okay, then similarly, if you want to declare a string variable, then string x or string a is equal to, say, any string you give. All right. Similarly, you have your Boolean variable, say Boolean b is equal to true. Okay, so these are all your variables. How do you declare the variables? Okay, and then next, if else statement, for loops, these functions, these you should know, and I assume you all know all these topics. And moreover, as we come to with our next topics, these topics would be covering, no doubt, if else statement, these loops, these concepts are common, like in any programming language or anywhere. If you want, if you go, these topics are common. Okay, so these would be used in our coming classes as well. Don't worry. All right. Now the next is how do you, if you want to print something in C sharp, then what command you use? Well, for that we have, you have console dot write line, and then inside which you give your value, the text that you want to print. Say I give welcome to Selenium C sharp training. Okay, so if I want to print this particular text, then I'll keep it in my console dot write line. Console dot write line is the command that will help you print something in C sharp. Okay, say I want to see the execution of my logic of my command. So I have this start button over here. You click on this, and then you saw that a black window did come up, but then it vanished away so fast that we were not able to see the execution, we were not able to see the output. Why that is so? It is because, let me just write console dot read key. Okay, and now if I run my code again, now you see that here is your black, the console output window, which contains your output, welcome to Selenium C sharp training. And now this window is still, this window has not closed. Why? Because of this command console.read key. So what is this console.read key command? Well, console.read key, it helps us to read the output. It freezes the screen till the time we don't close it from our end. It will let you see the output. It will not be getting closed on its own. Right. So if you are working on a console application project, then make sure you write console.read key in the end in order to read the output. Okay, so console.read key, fine. And console.writeLine is the command to write something, to print the result on the output window. Okay, and the shortcut for it is you write CW and then hit double tab key. You hit tab key 2 times, and here is the shortcut for your console.writeLine. Okay, so what I'll be doing in my class is I'll be teaching you first the C sharp concepts, and then the same concept I'll be covering in my Selenium. So then in that case, C sharp and Selenium would go side by side. So will that be okay with everyone?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. Fine. So this was just the general, the basic part only. Okay, and okay, now coming to this references folder. Now, what is this references? In this references folder, if you see, we have some files present inside this folder. Now, what are these files? Now, as I told you, we can add any number of classes, any type of item in our project, right? How do you add? You right click, add new item, and then you can add any class. If you want to add another class, you can add another class in your project, class 1.cs. If I want to add another class, I can again add one more class in my project. Okay, that is your class 2, and same and so on, right? Now what developers did in their time is, like, these are also the classes. What they has done is they have combined these classes, they have put these classes in a single class known as your DLL. Okay, now what is the DLL? Well, DLL, as I told you, it is a collection of class. DLL is a collection of class. So these are actually your DLLs, which are actually required by any program to execute. Like, say for example, if I say comment this using system, if I say comment this using system, then you see that the errors have started coming up below this console keyword. Now, why this is so? It is because this console class, it is present in your system namespace. System, you see, we have added the reference of system class in our framework, in our project. That is why we are able to use this using system. And why? And this system class is being used over here for the console keyword. Okay, so these by default DLLs that have come up, these are mandatory for any dummy project, for any project that you would be having in your that you would want to work with. Okay, and same goes with another, like, say, now next we have to work with Selenium, right? So we need to add the Selenium DLLs. We will be adding the Selenium DLL in our project in order to work with Selenium. We cannot directly use Selenium like that. We will have to add Selenium DLLs so that we are good to go with Selenium. Okay, so you see that these are your DLLs that are added in your project, which is a collection of class. DLL is a collection of class. Okay, so fine. So here is your these are your DLLs, and we will be adding some more as well in our framework. Okay. Okay. Now next, say suppose I want to add the Selenium, I want to work with Selenium, right? So I want to add my Selenium DLL, and the most important thing is Selenium is not installed or it is not downloaded. It is configured. No, please don't say I need to install Selenium in my framework, in my Visual Studio. No, we don't install or download Selenium. We actually configure Selenium in our project. Okay, so how do you add Selenium DLLs in your project? You right click on your references folder, or you right click on your project, then you go to manage Nugget packages. Okay, so this is an inbuilt built tool in the Visual Studio from where you can add any DLL that you want to add according to your requirement. So tomorrow when we will be working with the NUnit part, right? So we will have to just add the NUnit DLL. Tomorrow when we will be working with the file handling, the Excel reading, then for the Excel reading also we will have to add a DLL, that is your endpoint DLL, with the help of which we will be writing the code to work with the Excel. Okay, so those DLLs we will be adding from this Nugget package manager. Right now, say right now I need to add my WebDriver DLL, the Selenium DLLs. So I'll just browse for my WebDriver. Okay, and here comes all your WebDriver DLLs. So here is your selenium.webdriver, the latest version being 3.141.0. You need to install. Click on the install button, and I click on OK. So it's installing your Selenium WebDriver. Just hold on. Okay, it has successfully installed Selenium WebDriver, right? So then if you see your references folder, you see the WebDriver DLL has been successfully added in your project. Now you can write your commands, the WebDriver, the Selenium commands very easily in your class. Like say for example, I have iWebDriver, say dr is equal to null. Okay, now iWebDriver. If you see, we are getting an error below this. It says the type on namespace iWebDriver could not be found. Well, we will have to add the namespace for it. From where it is coming, you hit Control plus dot, and here you will get the IntelliSense help from where it says you need to add the reference, that is using openqa.selenium. So now you have added using openqa.selenium, right? And now you see that the error has gone. So this openqa.selenium is coming from this WebDriver DLL. So first you need to add this WebDriver DLL, then you need to import your namespace for it, openqa.selenium for this WebDriver. And same goes like for the other commands, like this is just the basic command. And what is this WebDriver will just tell you, don't worry. Okay, have patience, will tell you each and everything. So right now I just told you the basic part only, just to how you add your Selenium DLLs. Okay, and for this WebDriver we need to import this openqa.selenium. All right, so let's stop it till here only for today. Yes, is that okay with everyone? So we'll stop it till here only for today, and tomorrow we'll continue.